The evidence is on the nursing home. If they say I can't take the person, they can't take the person.
And President Trump unleashing a crackdown on social media companies after Twitter fact-checked him.
Fox and Friends First continues right now. And a very good morning. You are watching Fox and Friends First on this Thursday morning. I'm Jillian Mealy.
And I'm Rob Schmidt. Thanks for getting up early with us today. And straight to a Fox News alert. And what is Ashley Strohmeyer joins us live with new developments and what the governor is calling an extremely dangerous situation. Ashley.
Hey guys, good morning. And we now know a man was killed outside of a pawn shop overnight. Police haven't confirmed if he was looting or what led to his death, though. The mayor for an FBI investigation into Floyd's death, tweeting, "I have asked for this investigation to be expedited and greatly appreciate all of the work done by local law enforcement. My heart goes out to George's family and friends. Justice at the center of Floyd's death have not been charged. The University of Minnesota has announced they will no longer ask Minneapolis police for additional police support on campus." Rob, Jillian.
Okay, Ashley, we'll follow the story. Thank you.
To another Fox News.
In Hagerstown, Maryland, where he was caught. Griff.
Yeah, Rob and Jillian, good morning to you. Just a few hours ago, around 2 a.m., man Fredonia was brought here to the Washington County Detention Center. This is where he has remained in jail overnight after being apprehended, taken without incident into custody last night, sometime around 9 or 10 p.m. It was a multi-law enforcement in some 6 days. Let me show you a map and take you back where it began last Friday in Willington, Connecticut, where man Fredonia is accused of hacking to death with a machete 62-year-old Ted Demers. At that point, he takes another man hostage, steals his car and guns, and drives to Derby, Connecticut, where he's accused of shooting and killing a former classmate, high school classmate, Nicholas Eisel, and then kidnaps his girlfriend and forces her to drive with him to Columbia, New Jersey, where authorities believe he Ubered to a Walmart in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, just below the New Jersey border. He's spotted for the first time on Sunday walking along railroad tracks. The second spotting comes yesterday in Chambersburg at a sheet store. That's just north of the Maryland border here, and of course in Hagerstown, being apprehended. As for the motive, it's really unclear. Man Fredonia's attorney saying that he was an honors student at the University of Connecticut and had a history of depression, but no indications of why he would have become so violent.
Yeah, there's still a lot to learn on this.
Today, after the platform put a warning label on some of his tweets.
Cheryl Casoni with our sister network, Fox Business, joins us live with the very fiery feud. Good morning, Cheryl.
Guys, good morning. Yeah, President Trump is expected to sign an executive order today on social media. Now, there's just not a lot of details out there that weren't made available by the White House, but it's likely going to be in response to Republicans' concerns that social media silences conservative voices. Now, the president is battling Twitter, as you know, after the company put a warning on one of his tweets referring to mail-in ballots, cautioning readers there is no evidence mail-in voting would increase fraud risk. But there are the tweets from the president right there about big tech and that they're doing everything in their very considerable power to censor in advance of the 2020 election. If that happens, we no longer have our freedom. I will never let it happen. He goes on to say some other things on Twitter. But there's another social media giant, Facebook, and that CEO, Mark Zuckerberg. He responded to this ongoing controversy in an interview with Fox News' Dana Perino.
We have a different policy, I think, than Twitter on this. You know, I just believe strongly that that Facebook shouldn't be the arbiter of truth of everything that people say online. I think in general, private companies probably shouldn't be, or especially these platform companies shouldn't be in the position of doing that.
Well, late last night, Jack Dorsey responded on Twitter about the issue of fact-checking on his platform. He said, "We will continue to point out incorrect or disputed information about elections globally, and we will admit to and own any mistakes that we make. This does not make us an arbiter of truth. Our intention is to connect the dots of conflicting statements and show the information and disputes so people can judge for themselves." per our civic integrity policy. The tweets yesterday may mislead people into thinking they don't need to register to get a ballot. Now, we should add here a couple of things. First, Republican Senator Josh Hawley and Representative Matt Gaetz Wednesday each announced they're both working on legislation that would strip Twitter of federal protections from liability. And I also want to add, Wall Street Journal's reporting this morning they've seen a draft of the executive order that's expected to come from the president today, and they say that it would basically limit broad legal protection that federal law currently provides social media companies, and it would make it easier, and this is a quote, easier for federal regulators to hold companies like Twitter and Facebook liable for curbing users' free speech. Now, that draft could change, but again, that's what the Journal's reporting this morning. We will see what that executive order actually comes to, or actually what it looks like when it comes out later today, guys.
It is crazy. I mean, this social media just exploded, and I don't think anybody really knew what to do with it or how to rein it in. So it's very interesting to see what the president's going to try to do here.
Yeah, both companies are certainly already lawyered up, I can tell you that. So there'll be some responses today.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Cheryl, thank you so much.
Thank you. It is just about 11 minutes after the hour. Republicans fighting against the Democrats' move.
Never have we seen a proxy vote on the floor of the House. This challenges the Constitution only to protect and empower a speaker. It violates the Constitution. It's a dereliction of duty by its members.
20 Republican members of Congress filing a suit against the Speaker of the House, challenging the legality of the first proxy vote in American history.
Nancy Pelosi calling that move a sad stunt. But aren't Democrats the ones who are manipulating the democratic process?
Tennessee Congressman Mark Green is part of the lawsuit and joins us now. Good to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Here's what Nancy Pelosi has to say, and this reads, quote, House Republicans' sad stunt shows that their only focus is to delay and obstruct urgently needed action to meet the needs of American workers and families during the coronavirus crisis. Your response?
She's calling the Constitution of the United States a sad stunt. That's exactly what Nancy Pelosi is doing. It's very clear in the Constitution that when it talks about the Congress or the legislators, the House, they will assemble. It says that in multiple places, and then the definition of a quorum, I mean, an 8th grade civics student knows what that means. It means you're present. It means there's a majority present. There's even a Supreme Court ruling in 1892, I believe it was, where they talk about when the majority is present, the powers of the House arises. In 1892 English, of course, but it says very specifically that we're present.
Yeah, I understand. You want everybody to be present, and that's the Republican side of this. Why? Why is it so important to actually be there instead of just having somebody vote for you?
Well, you have to imagine the conversations that have. You know, we've been having these crazy committee meetings, and they're not really committee meetings on Zoom, and you're sitting there trying to get your comment in, and you can't, and the technology doesn't work, and it's that you can't have a debate, you can't have conversations. It basically takes away the whole process. I mean, it's as if they don't want to work, they don't want to show up for work. Hey, there's plenty of Republicans out there who will come here and vote for them.
Let's take a listen to a reaction from both sides yesterday. This is from Congressman McGovern and Zeldin.
To make things up, to come down here and just and to twist what we have done here, it's just unacceptable. It is unacceptable. We all ought to be better than that.
Our grocery store workers, truckers, farmers, healthcare professionals, first responders, they've been showing up every single day throughout this entire pandemic. In order to lead, it's important to show up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's one of the things that frustrates a lot of people right now is you have a lot of people showing up day in and day out during this pandemic, and people are wondering, you know, why can't my elected officials do the same?
Sure, the Senate's doing it. And if you look at the average age of the Senate versus the average age of the House, they're at more risk than we are for this particular pandemic or virus. I mean, you have to kind of look at what Nancy Pelosi's been about since she became Speaker. I mean, it's all about concentrating power into the hands of fewer and fewer people, whether it's House Resolution 1, where they dictate to the states how to do elections, or her running an impeachment for 30 days before she even has a vote of the House. For her, everything, socialism, it's about concentrating power into the hands of fewer and fewer people. That's tyranny. That's what they're about.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Have a good day, of course.
18 minutes after the hour, two parties with polar opposite plans.
On unemployment, if you take $450 a week with you to work, that means that you would be making a little bit more in the workforce than you would be on unemployment.
All right, so the GOP plan pushes back on expanded unemployment benefits being pushed by House Democrats, basically paying people more to stay home. So what is the best approach to handle this pandemic and the economy? Joining me now is Heritage Foundation Director of the Grover M. Herman Center for the Federal Budget, Romina Bacha. Thank you so much for coming on, Romina. We appreciate it. It's two completely different proposals. Who do you think is right?
Well, the unemployment insurance bonus of $600 was misguided to begin with, and we're hearing from a lot of businesses that they're having real trouble now that parts of America are reopening, getting their workers to come back to work, because the unemployment in many cases is paying workers more than they were making while they were working. But the solution to that is not to push a proposal that pays people to come back to work by federal taxpayers. That's trying to neutralize a bad policy with another bad policy, which will likely backfire. It's also blatantly unfair for all those essential workers who've had to work through this entire pandemic. We shouldn't be rewarding people. You know, people are suffering, but we shouldn't be paying people more to be unemployed than they were making while they were employed. They should have capped the benefit, as many senators were trying to do, at no more than 100% of wages. That's a simple way to help workers without distorting the incentives and without prolonging this recession. I think everyone's ready, or most people are ready to go back to work as it's safe to do so. Right.
And remember, at the very beginning, this got pointed out very early on, right when this bill was being drafted. They said, oh, wait, we found a problem here, and they never fixed it. And it has become an issue. There's got 38.6 million people have filed for unemployment during this pandemic. I want to pull up one more piece of information here. This is what the House has passed. Of course, the House run by Democrats right now. Unemployment benefits. This was a very expensive bill in the trillions of dollars. They want to extend that $600 a week unemployment benefit through January 31st, 2021. And then look at all the other money that they're trying to spend. The Republicans are pushing back on this, trying to reopen the economy now so we don't have to spend all this money that we don't have. How do you get people that make 10 to 15 bucks an hour excited about the idea of going back to work when, like you said,
so the administration can just provide flexibility for those businesses so they don't get stuck in that gap.
And protecting those businesses, that's what Mitch McConnell wants to do, protect them from lawsuits so when you reopen, you don't get hit with lawsuits from people that might get COVID because they came back to work. Let's talk about New York City here for a second. The mayor, let's listen to him talking about the fiscal crisis he's seeing in the worldwide epicenter of this pandemic.
We are now in a fiscal crisis here in this city, and we have spent so much time, energy, heart, soul, and money fighting back the coronavirus, and often alone without the help of our federal government. It should be the responsibility of the federal government, first and foremost, to address this.
Romina, what do you make of that comment?
So no doubt the city has been struck very hard by this virus, but they're also receiving billions of dollars in federal government aid to fight COVID-19. By some estimates, roughly $6 billion in total. So that's a lot of money. What the city really wants and what the governor has been pushing for is unrestricted aid to help shore up unaffordable and corrupt pension.
Friday, where Fredonia is accused of hacking to death with a machete 62-year-old Ted Demers. He then steals another man's car and guns and drives to Derby, Connecticut, where he shoots and kills, allegedly, a former classmate, Nicholas Eisel, forces his girlfriend, kidnaps her to drive with him to Columbia, New Jersey. He's first spotted on Sunday along railroad tracks outside a Walmart in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, and he's spotted a second time here in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, just across the Maryland border, and, of course, apprehended. What exactly he'll be charged with, we're not sure yet. There'll be a press conference later this afternoon. The motive is well unknown. Fredonia's attorney saying there were no signs for this sort of violence. Rob, Jillian.
Okay. Griff, thank you so much. The retired ICE director and author of Defend the Border and Save Lives joins us now to explain. Tom, I can only imagine what you make of this new law. What do you think?
Well, look, I'm angry as a native.
Employee violation of such certification shall be a Class E felony. Here's a look at the original. This was passed December 16th, 2019. And this says authorizes the Department of Motor Vehicles to issue standard driver's licenses and restricts what information can be retained and given out on those applying or holding standard driver's licenses. Tom, do you make anything of the timing of this?
Look, this is all politics. They hate this president. This governor hates this president more than he cares about the safety and security of New Yorkers in this country. Look, what he has done and what that legislature has done, they've legalized obstruction of justice. They're making a felony for law enforcement to work with law enforcement. Let's not forget the 9/11 hijackers, the vast majority were here on some sort of immigration control.
Revelations uncovered in the handling of the Michael Flynn case.
It comes as FISA reform now sits in jeopardy on Capitol Hill.
Todd Pyro joins us live to break it all down for us. Hey, Todd.
Attorney General Bill Barr launching a new probe into unmasking. Barr asking John Bash, a U.S. attorney in Texas, to review unmasking from before and after the 2016 election. DOJ spokeswoman Carrie Kupek sounding off on Hannity.
Unmasking inherently isn't wrong, but certainly the frequency, the motivation, and the reasoning behind unmasking can be problematic.
It all comes as the Senate Judiciary Committee announces that former Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein will testify next Wednesday as part of the probe into the origins of the Russia investigation. Rosenstein is expected to talk about new revelations included in Inspector General Michael Horowitz's report on surveilling President Trump's former campaign aide Carter Page. Meantime, on Capitol Hill, the House adjourns without voting on FISA reforms after President Trump threatens to veto the bill. The president tweeting in part, quote, "Our country has just suffered through the greatest political crime in its history. The massive abuse of FISA was a big part of it." The DOJ adding that the proposed reforms will, quote, "weaken national security tools." House Minority Whip Steve Scalise recommending a no vote after speaking with the president, but Steny Hoyer slamming some Republicans for reversing course.
You're flailing around to find a rationalization for your change of vote is sad.
The House set to reconvene at 9 a.m. Eastern today. Robin Jillian, back to you.
And this one is for you. The Philadelphia Eagles now allowed to fly back to their practice facility. Pennsylvania's Governor Tom Wolf giving the green light to allow sports teams in the state to begin training. Woohoo! That can happen as soon as next Friday. There will be some restrictions, though, and the NFL still has to sign off on it, of course. But
yeah, I don't know why you read that one.
I don't either. Revelations uncovered in the handling of the Michael Flynn case.
It comes as FISA reform now sits in jeopardy on Capitol Hill.
Todd Pyro joins us live to break it all down for us. Hey, Todd.
Attorney General Bill Barr launching a new probe into unmasking. Barr asking John Bash, a U.S. attorney in Texas, to review unmasking from before and after the 2016 election. DOJ spokeswoman Carrie Kupek sounding off on Hannity.
Unmasking inherently isn't wrong, but certainly the frequency, the motivation, and the reasoning behind unmasking can be problematic.
It all comes as the Senate Judiciary Committee announces that former Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein will testify next Wednesday as part of the probe into the origins of the Russia investigation. Rosenstein is expected to talk about new revelations included in Inspector General Michael Horowitz's report on surveilling President Trump's former campaign aide Carter Page. Meantime, on Capitol Hill, the House adjourns without voting on FISA reforms after President Trump threatens to veto the bill. The president tweeting in part, quote, "Our country has just suffered through the greatest political crime in its history. The massive abuse of FISA was a big part of it." The DOJ adding that the proposed reforms will, quote, "weaken national security tools." House Minority Whip Steve Scalise recommending a no vote after speaking with the president, but Steny Hoyer slamming some Republicans for reversing course.
You're flailing around to find a rationalization for your change of vote is sad.
The House set to reconvene at 9 a.m. Eastern today. Robin Jillian, back to you.
And this one is for you. The Philadelphia Eagles now allowed to fly back to their practice facility. Pennsylvania's Governor Tom Wolf giving the green light to allow sports teams in the state to begin training. Woohoo! That can happen as soon as next Friday. There will be some restrictions, though, and the NFL still has to sign off on it, of course. But
yeah, I don't know why you read that one.
I don't either.